I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for 6 years, together for 9. Up until recently, I genuinely thought we were one of those. We made it through everything. Couples. We weren't perfect, but we had routines, inside jokes, shared plans, the whole thing. Looking back now, I can see the cracks started way earlier than I admitted to myself. She's always had a sharp personality, blunt, sometimes straight up harsh. I used to tell myself that's just how she communicates. But over the past year, it got worse. Every small thing turned into criticism. The way I loaded the dishwasher, how I spoke, even how I breathed when she was stressed. It felt like I was constantly being corrected or dismissed. At the same time, she started disappearing emotionally. Like physically there, but not really there. Conversations got shorter. Eye contact? Rare. Affection? Basically gone unless she wanted something. And then the lying started, small at first. Weird, unnecessary lies. Saying she was at work when she wasn't. Claiming she told me things she never did. If I questioned it, she'd snap back fast and hard, like I was the problem for even asking. I remember one night in particular, she came home late, said she was out with coworkers. Something about the way she said it felt off. Too quick. Too rehearsed. When I asked which coworkers, she got defensive immediately and flipped it on me. Why are you interrogating me? Do you not trust me now? That question stuck with me. Because the truth is, I didn't know anymore. After that night, I started noticing patterns I wish I could unsee. It wasn't just one weird interaction, it was constant. She'd tell me she had a late meeting, but then I'd hear her phone buzz nonstop when she got home, like she'd been ignoring messages the whole time. Or she'd say she was too tired to talk, then sit in the bathroom for 40 minutes scrolling and smiling at her phone. And yeah, that smile. I hadn't seen it directed at me in months. At first, I tried to be rational. People get distant, work gets stressful, relationships go through phases. I didn't want to be that paranoid husband reading into everything. But then the details stopped lining up. One evening, she told me she was going to a team dinner. Cool, normal. But later that night, I checked our shared calendar. We both use it for bills and events, and there was nothing about it. Not unusual by itself, but when I casually asked what restaurant they went to, she paused. Just for a second, but long enough to notice. Then she said a place I knew had been closed for renovations. When I pointed that out, she didn't miss a beat. Just rolled her eyes and said, "Oh my God, they reopened last week. You're so out of the loop." I checked later. They hadn't. That was the moment something shifted in me. Not anger yet, just this quiet, sinking realization that I was being lied to, repeatedly, and for no clear reason. And the worst part? She acted like I was the one making things weird. I started questioning my own memory, my own judgment. Like maybe I was overthinking everything. But deep down, there was this voice I couldn't shut off anymore. Something isn't right. I didn't go full detective mode right away. Honestly, I didn't want to find anything. There's a weird comfort in doubt. As long as you don't know, you can still pretend everything's fixable. But she kept pushing it. A few days after the team dinner thing, she started guarding her phone like it contained state secrets. Screen always face down. Took it with her everywhere, shower, kitchen, even just walking to the mailbox. This is someone who used to leave it unlocked on the couch without a second thought. One night, we were watching TV, and she got a notification. Just a quick buzz. She glanced at it and immediately stood up, saying she needed water. Took the phone with her. It sounds small, I know. But it felt deliberate. Later that night, she fell asleep before me, which never happens. Her phone was on the nightstand. For a solid 10 minutes, I just stared at it. I hated myself for even considering it. I've always been the privacy matters guy. I never checked her phone in 9 years. Not once. But something in my gut was screaming at me. So yeah. I picked it up. My hands were actually shaking, which is ridiculous in hindsight, but in that moment it felt like I was about to cross a line I couldn't uncross. And I guess I was. The phone was locked. New passcode. That hit harder than I expected. Not because of what I found, because I found nothing. Just a locked screen and the realization that she'd deliberately put up a barrier where there never was one before. I put the phone back exactly where it was and just lay there, staring at the ceiling. That was the moment something inside me snapped into place. It wasn't proof. But it was enough. After the phone thing, I told myself I'd either find something real, or I'd force myself to drop it. Living in that in-between state was exhausting. And then life just handed me something. A week later, I left work early because I felt like crap, headache, no energy, just one of those days. I texted her to let her know I was going home. No response. Not unusual anymore. When I got to our apartment, her car wasn't there. Again, not weird on its own, she'd been working late, a lot. But for some reason, I checked our shared location app. We barely used it, mostly for convenience, but it was still active. Her location wasn't at the office. It was across town, in a part of the city she has zero reason to be in. Not near friends, not near family, nothing. I just stared at the map for a solid minute, trying to come up with a normal explanation. Maybe a work meeting? A new client? Something? So I called her. She didn't pick up. I called again. Straight to voicemail. About 20 minutes later, she texted back. Can't talk, still at work. Crazy busy. I read that message 3 times. Still at work. While I'm literally looking at her location somewhere else. I don't even remember deciding to do it. I just grabbed my keys and got back in the car. The whole drive over, my brain was jumping between extremes. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe the location is glitching. Maybe I'm about to feel like the biggest idiot alive. Or maybe. I pulled up a street away from the pin and parked. My heart was pounding so hard it actually hurt. And then I saw her car. Parked right outside a building I didn't recognize. At that point, it stopped being a coincidence. I didn't rush in. I didn't confront her. I just sat there. Engine off. Hands on the wheel. Staring at her car like if I looked long enough, it would somehow explain itself. The building wasn't anything special, just a quiet residential block. No offices, no restaurants. Definitely not somewhere you accidentally end up for work. I checked my phone again. Her last message still there. Still at work. Crazy busy. I don't think I've ever felt that specific kind of anger before. Not explosive, not loud, just cold and heavy. Like something settling deep in your chest. I kept telling myself, don't jump to conclusions. There could be an explanation. There has to be. So I waited. 10 minutes. 20. Maybe 30. Time got weird. And then the front door of the building opened. She walked out. Laughing. Not stressed. Not crazy busy. Just relaxed. Light. Like a version of her I hadn't seen in months. And she wasn't alone. There was a guy with her. Around our age, maybe a bit older. Close enough that their shoulders brushed when they walked. Too comfortable to be strangers, too familiar to be just co-workers. I felt my stomach drop in a way that's hard to describe. Like your body realizes something before your brain fully catches up. They stopped right by her car. And then it happened. Nothing dramatic. No movie-level scene. He just leaned in, said something I couldn't hear. And kissed her. Quick. Casual. Like it wasn't the first time. I wish I could say I reacted. Got out, confronted them, did something. But I didn't. I just sat there, completely still, watching my marriage collapse in total silence. I didn't confront her. Yeah, I know how that sounds. Trust me, I've replayed that moment 100 times wondering why I didn't just get out of the car and call it out right there. But I think I was in shock. Like my brain just couldn't process what I'd seen fast enough to react. So I did the most cowardly, surreal thing possible. I drove away. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tight my hands hurt, just trying to breathe normally. My thoughts were all over the place: anger, disbelief, this weird urge to laugh because it all felt so unreal. I got home before she did. Sat on the couch. Same spot we'd watched TV together a few nights earlier. Same place where I started doubting everything. And I made a decision in that moment. I wouldn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted to see what she'd do. About 40 minutes later, she walked in like it was any normal evening. Tossed her keys down, kicked off her shoes, and gave me a quick glance. "Oh, you're home early." That was it. No concern, no curiosity. I asked, as calmly as I could. "How was work?" She didn't hesitate. Not even for a second. "Ugh, exhausting. We stayed late finishing reports." "I'm dead." Just straight up lie. Delivered effortlessly, like she'd rehearsed it. I nodded. Played along. Asked a couple normal questions. She answered without missing a beat, layering details on top of the lie like it was nothing. Watching her do that, knowing exactly where she'd been, what she'd just done, it messed with my head more than actually seeing the kiss itself. Because it meant this wasn't new. She was good at this. That night I barely slept. She was right next to me, scrolling on her phone, occasionally smirking at something on the screen, probably him. Then she just rolled over, said goodnight, like everything was normal, and passed out within minutes. Meanwhile, I was lying there staring into the dark, replaying that scene outside the building over and over again. The kiss. The way she laughed. The lie when she got home. Logically, I already knew. There wasn't really anything left to figure out. But emotionally? I think I needed something concrete. Something undeniable. Maybe because a small part of me was still hoping I'd misunderstood something, even though that made zero sense. So yeah, I decided I was going to find proof. The next morning, she left for work like usual, quick goodbye, barely looked at me. The second the door closed, I felt this wave of guilt hit me. Because I knew what I was about to do crossed the line. But so had she. I started small. Checked the obvious places: shared computer, tablet, anything she might have forgotten to log out of. Nothing. Either she was careful, or this had been going on long enough that she already covered her tracks. Then I remembered something. A couple months ago, she logged into her email on my laptop to send a file. I wasn't sure if the session was still active, probably not, but I checked anyway. And somehow, it was still there. Inbox loaded. No password needed. My heart started pounding again, same as the night with her phone. I hovered over the search bar for a second, not even sure what I was looking for. Then I typed one word. Love. The search results loaded almost instantly. And yeah, that was it. No more doubt. No more. Maybe I'm overthinking. Just pages of emails between her and him. It wasn't even hidden that well, just buried under normal stuff, like bills and subscriptions. But once I opened one thread, it all came spilling out. At first, it looked almost innocent. Casual messages. Jokes. Work-related excuses. Then I scrolled. And it got personal. Fast. They weren't just flirting, they were talking like people in a relationship. Inside jokes, nicknames, little updates about their day. Stuff she used to do with me. Then came the part that actually made my chest hurt. She was complaining about me. Not just normal venting. I could have handled that. It was worse. She painted me like I was some distant, boring, emotionally unavailable guy who wouldn't even notice if she disappeared. Reading that, after everything I'd been feeling, trying, questioning, it messed me up more than the cheating itself. And then I saw the timeline. This had been going on for months. Not weeks. Months. There were messages about meeting up. Specific dates. That building I saw? Mentioned multiple times. Like it was their place. And yeah, more than just kissing. They weren't even trying to be subtle and private. Just open. Comfortable. Like I didn't exist. At one point she wrote, "I hate lying to him, but it's easier than dealing with his questions." I actually had to step away from the laptop after that. Because that line? That's when it stopped being just betrayal. It felt like I'd been reduced to an inconvenience in my own marriage. After I stepped away, I just stood in the kitchen for a while, staring at nothing. Part of me wanted to shut the laptop, pretend I never saw any of it, and just delay the explosion. But that wasn't really an option anymore. So I went back. And this time, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of the emails. Dates, messages, all of it. I don't even fully know why. Maybe to protect myself, maybe to make it real, maybe because I knew she'd deny everything if I didn't have proof. The weirdest part? The more I read, the calmer I got. Not okay, not even close, but focused. Like my brain switched from husband to observer. I was looking at my own life from the outside, piecing together a story that I somehow missed while living it. There were details that hit harder than others. She told him things she hadn't told me. About her fears, her plans, even random thoughts during the day. Stuff I would have loved to hear from her. And with me? One-word answers and criticism. At some point, I realized I was clenching my jaw so hard it hurt. Then came another message that stuck with me. He asked if she was ever going to leave me. Her response? I don't know. It's complicated. He's not a bad person, just not the one I want anymore. I read that line at least 5 times. Not the one I want anymore. No conversation. No warning. No attempt to fix things. Just a quiet decision made behind my back while I was still trying to hold everything together. That's when the anger finally came back. Not explosive, just steady, controlled. And I knew I couldn't keep pretending after that. Once I had the screenshots, everything changed. Up until that point, I was reacting, confused, hurt, trying to make sense of things. But now, I had the full picture. No more guessing. She was cheating. She'd been lying for months. And she had already emotionally checked out of the marriage. So I decided I wasn't going to confront her in the heat of the moment. I wanted it controlled. Clear. No room for her to twist things or gaslight me like she had been doing. I spent that whole day thinking about how to do it. What I'd say. What I wouldn't say. I even caught myself rehearsing lines in my head, which felt ridiculous, but I knew if I went in unprepared, it would just turn into chaos, and somehow I'd end up being the one apologizing. That had happened before. By the time evening came around, I had a plan. Simple. Direct. No yelling, no drama, just facts. She got home around the same time as usual. Same routine. Same casual attitude. Hey, she said, dropping her bag. Long day. I just nodded. We ate dinner in near silence. She scrolled on her phone between bites. At one point, she actually smirked at something again, same expression I saw that night outside the building. That almost set me off right there. But I held it in. I waited until she put her plate in the sink and turned around. And then I said it. We need to talk. She sighed immediately. Not concern. Annoyance. About what? That reaction alone told me everything about where her head was. Her eyes flicked up, a flash of panic, or was it irritation? Crossing her face for a split second. Then she masked it with that usual sharpness. What do you mean? She asked, crossing her arms. Her tone was tight, defensive. I mean, I said, keeping my voice low but firm. I know about the emails. I know who you've been seeing. And I know it's been going on for months. She froze for a second. Then laughed. Not nervously, laughing at me. You what? You've been snooping through my stuff? I didn't want to believe it, I said. But you made it impossible. You lied, you hid your phone, you changed your passcodes. And now it's all clear. She shook her head, a smile that didn't reach her eyes forming. I can't believe you actually think it's that simple. You always blow things out of proportion. I showed her the screenshots. All of them. Dates, messages, every word. Her smirk faltered a little, but only for a moment. She blinked, then said, almost casually, "Okay, fine. Yes. I've been seeing him. But it's not like it's a big deal. I'm still figuring things out. I didn't want to hurt you." Her words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. Still sharp, still dismissive, like my emotions were just inconvenient noise in her world. "You didn't want to hurt me?" I asked. "By lying to me every day for months? By pretending everything was fine?" She shrugged. "I don't know. I guess it felt easier than dealing with all the tension between us. You're always so..." She paused, searching for the right word. "Rigid. You never get me." And there it was. Her excuse. The justification that somehow put the blame on me. I sat there, heart pounding, stomach twisting. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shake her. But mostly I felt numb. The numbness was worse than anger. It was final. After she finally went to bed that night, I didn't sleep. I just sat on the couch, staring at the wall, scrolling through the screenshots over and over. It wasn't just the betrayal itself that crushed me. It was the way she had become a stranger right in front of me. The lies. The dismissive attitude. The way she framed it like I was the problem. I went through stages in a matter of hours. Shock. My brain kept saying, "This can't be real. Maybe you misread something." Anger. Hot, burning, uncontrollable. I imagined confronting him, confronting her, tearing down every lie. Sadness. The deep ache that hit when I realized the woman I married, the person I trusted most, didn't feel the same way about me anymore. Confusion. How do you process years of memories when you realize half of it was a performance? Acceptance, sort of, quiet, hollow, almost mechanical. I understood the truth. I just had to survive it. I cried at some point. I don't even remember exactly when. Not loudly, just silent tears while staring at a blank screen. I felt empty, violated, and utterly alone. It was surreal how quickly my life felt different. Like someone had ripped the foundation out from under me, and I was left trying not to fall through the cracks. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding headache and a racing mind. I knew I had a choice to make, and it was going to define the next chapter of my life. I could try to work on the marriage. Sit down, talk things out, maybe go to counseling, hope she could commit to being honest. Leave. End it, walk away, reclaim my life without the constant betrayal. I thought about her words the night before. "I'm still figuring things out." The truth was, she had already figured something out, and it wasn't me. Part of me wanted to hope. The part that loved her desperately wanted things to go back to normal. But reality kept crashing in, lying, hiding, choosing someone else. That wasn't a phase. That was a decision. I realized that staying would only prolong the pain. I couldn't fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. And I certainly couldn't live with constant doubt and betrayal. So I made my decision. Quiet, firm, without drama. I wouldn't waste another day in a marriage that was already over in every meaningful sense. I started planning. Financially, logistically, mentally. Breaking up was going to hurt, terribly, but so was staying. And staying wouldn't ever feel safe, or loved, or respected. I told her a few days later. No shouting, no begging, no drawn-out drama. Just the facts, calm and steady. "I know everything. I can't stay in this marriage. It's over." She tried her usual tactics, sharp words, quick excuses, blame shifting. "You're overreacting. I never meant for it to go this far. Can't we just work through it?" But I didn't engage. I had already gone through every possible version of this conversation in my head. I knew what she would say. I knew how she'd try to manipulate me. And I didn't care anymore. I packed my things over the next few days. Every item felt like a reminder that this life we built together wasn't really ours. The last night in that apartment was surreal. I kept thinking about all the little lies, the fake smiles, the pretending. The way she had laughed with him outside that building while I drove away in silence. It hurt. Deeply. But it was also freeing. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe without holding back, without constant fear, without pretending everything was okay. And as I walked out the door for the last time, I knew that this wasn't just an ending, it was a chance to rebuild my life, on my terms. It's been a few months since I left. Some days still hit like a freight train, random triggers, memories, even small things she used to do. But the pain isn't constant anymore. I'm learning to breathe again, to trust myself, and to recognize red flags earlier. Here's what I've learned through this mess. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore that gut feeling. Boundaries matter. Protect your mental space. If someone repeatedly disrespects your trust, it's not your job to fix it. Evidence isn't betrayal. Sometimes knowing the truth hurts, but pretending everything's fine hurts worse. Emotional honesty is everything. A marriage without honesty isn't a partnership, it's a performance. You can survive betrayal. Painful as it is, heartbreak doesn't define you. Your response does. To anyone going through this, you deserve to be seen, respected, and loved genuinely. Don't settle for lies and manipulation. It's hard, yes, but walking away from toxic love can be the start of truly finding yourself. I don't know what the future holds, and honestly, I don't want to rush it. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like me again, and that's something no betrayal can take away.